Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
The break didn't make me less anxious to be tackled by Darren Woodson. That's a fact. It's Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Jason Fitz, Mike Golic Jr. in for Trey and Mike.
I want to talk about how ridiculous you sound. Because during the break, you legitimately looked at me. We just had Darren Woodson in here. We were in a meeting yesterday with the NFL, and all of our great analysts are in there. We have a lot of defensive backs. Louis Riddick, Ryan Clark, Darren Woodson, Charles Woodson. And you're saying, you know what? I really think I want to be tackled. Let me tell you, no, you don't.
Just once. Like, I think this could be a spectacular fun. I got to wear a helmet, though. I got to wear a helmet.
You have to wear a helmet? We have to get you one of those bubbles, like the big balls they play those park games in?
Not
like, if you're going to
idea.
get tackled, I want you with that much protection, because if not, you will die.
I mean,
one of them will send you to an early grave.
Can we find like a soft surface? Does this still count as being tackled? Like, if I say, okay, Darren Woodson tackled me, but it was on one of those like blow up sort of, or like a pad, like a trampoline pad.
I'm not worried about you hitting the ground.
Oh.
I'm worried about their body hitting your body.
That's probably
like, you remember the show Pros versus Joes? How poorly that went for some people? Yeah. Now imagine that, but worse.
These are all you are doing a great job of giving me tremendous logic, and it's only exciting me more. Like, I think this could be spectacular. I feel like I need a Raiders helmet.
Tell me that pun was not intentional.
What? No.
Tell me you did not just say spectacular.
Yeah, I said spectacular, but it just was just out of joy. I was just saying spectacular. Is there something to speak?
We need to move on because I'm getting angry and I might tackle you soon.
We already established you're the guy on the edge that he blows around quickly. Come on, that's your job in this. We all have a role. You don't get to tackle me.
I played defense close enough ago to be able to hit you still, because you might be a moving target, but you're a slow moving target, and you're one that I will actively hunt in the hallway here.
I'm slow. I'm wiry. I'm little. I don't know.
Just hit the button. That's the only thing you're hitting.
Moving on. Darren Woodson's afraid to hit me. Marlins starting pitcher Jose Urena has been suspended for 6 games and fined an undisclosed amount for intentionally hitting Atlanta Braves rookie Ronald Acuna Jr. on Wednesday night, also known as cheating.
You and this cheating thing, I swear, you're going to actually turn me into like a Jose Urena truther in this. Somehow, just with your own ridiculous take. Now, the good news in all of this is Ronald Acuna back on the field last night, went 1 for 4 with a single. His streak of hit streak now at 9. He extends that, but more importantly, he's just not injured. He wore a protective guard on that arm, but no damage to the elbow. He's not going to miss any time, and we know that Urena is going to miss 1 start because of that 6-game suspension.
Yeah, and look, does that feel like enough to you? I've been saying all morning it doesn't feel like enough to me. Where are you on the suspension?
I mean, I would like this part of baseball to be gone, because we always think about how it looks normally, but the worst case scenario of this is someone getting hit in the head and someone getting seriously hurt in a way that I know Major League Baseball doesn't want, but I don't want young guys like Ronald Acuna off the field. I've enjoyed watching this guy rise to prominence this year. I enjoy some of the other stars in the league that are colorful, that are vibrant, that are going to show emotion in a way that really baseball kind of needs. Like we talked about this with Rob Manfred. You want to market young stars, you need them on the field.
Yeah, I will continue to dig into. I wish they defined the suspension, and I know it's not how they do business, but defining the suspension by the number of starts he would miss, not by the number of games, because a 6-game suspension is essentially a 1-start suspension. I don't want people to hear 6 and think, ooh, that's a good punishment. For him, particularly, it is a 1-game, 1-start suspension. So a little bit of a schematics there. By the way, the definition of the word cheat: act dishonestly or unfairly in order to gain an advantage, especially in a game or examination. Hitting a guy is acting unfairly and dishonestly, and it's definitely giving you an advantage if you injure that person or if he misses the rest of the game.
I mean, it's honest. You want to hit him.
So you're trying to hit. It's dishonest, Mike. Come on.
What in the hell just happened?
That was my grunt of not appreciating your lack of understanding for dishonesty. The Mets have done something for the first time since 1894. You heard that right, 1894. They split a doubleheader yesterday with the Phillies, but that's not the interesting part. The interesting part came in Game 1.
So the Mets, who we remember lost 25-4 to the Nationals earlier this season, won 24-4 against the Phillies in the first game of this doubleheader, making them the first team to score 24 runs in a game and allow 24 runs in a game in the same season since 1894. That year, 4 teams did it. The Philadelphia Phillies, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Chicago Colts, and your favorite and mine, the Boston Beaneaters.
I've had several people tweet us with pictures of Beaneater jerseys. They're fairly spectacular. I think, Mike, you would look good in a Beaneater jersey.
Yeah, I think I was born to be a Beaneater. I think I've come from a long line of Beaneaters, and it is worth noting that while the Boston Beaneaters did resign in Boston whilst eating beans, they eventually became the Atlanta Braves and not the Boston Red Sox. So a little history lesson for you today.
Look at you.
Know your beans.
You are dropping all sorts of knowledge on that, and I appreciate it. I think we should both get Beaneater, like matching Beaneater jerseys.
Bean Talk Wireless, baby.
Oh, wow. Nashville's own Brandt Snedeker opened the Wyndham Championship with the 10th round of 59 or better in PGA history, becoming the 9th different player to do it.
He also became the 3rd player to shoot 59 or better that included a bogey, and the first player ever to break 60 when starting the round with a bogey. And we talked about that a little bit yesterday, but solid start to a round of golf that in no way involves Tiger Woods, so I'm a little less interested.
I do think this stat is spectacular, though. This was the 4th round of 59 or better in the last 3 years. Okay, during the time where Tiger hasn't been as relevant, this is the 4th round of 59 or better in the last 3 years. There were 4 in the previous 24 years. Coming back to my constant point that if you're willing to look outside of Tiger, there's a lot of great golf happening.
Are you done? Are you done trying to sell me on golf outside of Tiger? I mean, grow up. You've seen what golf outside of Tiger looks like. You know what it is? It's 69% less good, as we found out last weekend.
You know, wow. That's what's trending. I got nothing. I'm trying to help you evolve past a one-man wrecking machine.
All right, you want me to give you another stat here, another Brandt Snedeker stat? You want that? Is that that's going to make you happy?
Please
he scored a 27 on the front 9. He became the first player to shoot 27 on 9 holes since Jim Furyk did it at the 2016 Travelers, before Jim Furyk was up here lying about Tiger Woods being on the Ryder Cup team.
Oh my God!
I mean, it's just a joke at this point, dude. We know he's going to be there. He's already a vice captain. He's going to be a captain's pick. We're all going to hoot and holler. He's going to do great for America. We're all going to love it. Everyone's going to pay attention to golf. Just get it out of the way.
Yeah, if it's anything like what he's done so far, he'll have some good rounds, but he won't win. So I hope he doesn't make the team. This hour, Golic and Wingo, brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. Book at LQ.com and win at business. We'll continue our Tiger debates through the coming months.
No, we won't. Sure. I will let you sit on an island with your idiotic take and just bask in the sun as you slowly get sunburned.
That's probably fair. We're going to go to the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, all the quarterback conversation, all the Jets conversation. We're joined by former Jets quarterback and 2-time comeback player of the year, Chad Pennington, joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Chad, you've obviously have so much experience around the Jets organization. We've talked a little bit about the pressure that is on Sam Darnold because of where he was drafted and because of the expectations. How does that affect a player day in and day out?
Well, guys, I think that it's all about how the organization handles his maturation process and handles his development. That's where I think it lies. Right now, I think Jets Nation is so hungry and starving for a franchise quarterback. They're obviously fired up about the possibilities and the potential of Sam, but we all know that there's a huge development process that has to go on with these quarterbacks, and you don't want to rush that.
Chad, when you talk about that hunger and desire, how's that manifest itself around the city? Like, what's it like being a Jets quarterback in a city that's constantly looking at whoever's under center there as being the next savior, being that next hopeful guy to lead them to promise?
Well, I think week 1 of preseason was an indication of how it can be. I mean, we're talking about the first preseason game. We know what the first preseason game looks like, and just because of his performance, that's all the talk, whether it be regionally or nationally, is about Sam Darnold and him starting week 1 and all this type of talk. And I'm sitting there watching it going, wow, I mean, this is how much they're starving for a quarterback. But at the same time, we've got to just be patient with this thing and let this guy develop appropriately. And that may not mean that he starts week one. It may not mean that he plays in year one as well. And you got to really look at the long-term plan of what you're trying to get accomplished with Sam and the long-term plan of the organization.
We're talking to former Jets quarterback Chad Pennington, and all this conversation about patience, but what about from Sam Darnold's mindset? How difficult is it when you've been a top pick and you come into an organization and you know the organization needs to be patient, which means you may not get to play for the first time in a long time in life? How difficult is that for you to manage as a player?
Well, I think as a rookie, things are going by so fast. You're basically, as a rookie, after your rookie season, you played 2 years of football without a preseason because you've gone through the draft, the combine, the interviews, all those different things. And right now, you're just in it. You're in a whirlwind. You're not thinking about anything but the next day, the next practice, the next installation. But at the same time, you want to compete, but hopefully, the great thing for Sam is that he has two veterans in that quarterback room that have been there before, and so he's in a perfect situation in a great room with two really great professionals that are going to help him. They're not just there for themselves. They're going to help him and help him with his maturation process. So it can be frustrating and it can be challenging, but at the same time, he's got two guys that can help him look at the big perspective as well.
And just for everyone that's never been inside that quarterback room, what are the kind of things you look to glean from veteran players like that? What are the sort of wisdoms and intricacies of the position that they're going to help impart on this young rookie?
Well, first, I remember just watching Vinny Testaverde, and one of the biggest things was just his routine, how he would act as a professional, both in front of the media, behind closed doors, what his routine was like in studying, how he took notes, how he acted in the meetings, how he interacted with his teammates. And some of this stuff, comes natural to guys and some doesn't. But just that professional routine, going from a college routine to professional routine is really important, how you handle your business on and off the field. A lot of these things don't even have to do with anything with the game of football. This has to do with being a professional and what that looks like. And then, by the way, I've got to play the game of football as well, and I've got a lot to learn when it comes to this NFL game. So every day he's got to be like a sponge and just absorbing as much as he can from these two guys ahead of him.
We're talking to former Jets quarterback Chad Pennington on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You mentioned Vinny Testaverde in your quarterback room. One of the differences with this quarterback room, obviously, is Teddy Bridgewater, who's coming out and trying to assert his own future, whatever that may be. How does that affect a quarterback room?
Well, competition's always good. I think healthy competition where you're pushing each other, where you're watching, for Sam, he wouldn't want two quarterbacks in there that aren't accomplished and aren't competent. You want to be able to see competent quarterback play because I think that pushes you as an athlete to be competent as well and keeps you on the edge. And anything you can find to keep you on the edge and keep pushing forward, I think is really healthy and important. But the most important thing is that those two guys are in there to help him as well. And I think those two guys are. I don't think that they're in there to undermine what Sam's trying to get accomplished. But so as he's watching that, he's also got to be worried about his own progression and how he's developing as well. But this is baby steps. I mean, we're in the baby steps of his career. We're not even close to what he's going to become and what he can become. And we all get excited about his potential and what he maybe can do, but it's going to take some time. And so biggest thing, too, is being able to make some mistakes behind closed doors. I think is really important, which is really tough in New York. But sometimes you'd like to make mistakes where you don't have to hear any criticism, don't have to hear any articles, don't have to answer any questions. It's just a mistake, and you learn from it. So hopefully having these two guys in front will be able to shield some of that as well.
Talking to former Jets quarterback Chad Pennington. So we've talked about all the circumstances surrounding Sam Darnold there, but let's go on the field with Sam Darnold, the player, as you've seen him, whether it's been in college and now through a couple of preseason games and around Jets camp. What have you seen that you would consider strengths and weaknesses right now for his game?
Well, I think, first of all, you look at his demeanor. You look at how he handles himself on the field. He doesn't look rushed. He doesn't look confused. He doesn't look overwhelmed, and I think that's number one. As an NFL quarterback, always being in control of your own emotions and in control of the situation is really important. I think you see that potential. Physically, you see that he can make all the throws. He's got pocket mobility, and so he checks those boxes. And now it's just about taking each play and every day taking the same play and moving it to the next level. And so it's not just about the primary progression read or this or that. It's about, okay, now how does he progress through that year by year and make that play even better? And how much does the coaching staff give him year by year to as far as more keys to use in the car to move that car forward? And so that's what it's going to be about. It's not just about that first glance. Well, he can make this throw or he can work this primary read. Now, what's the second level to that play? And so I think we're all excited about what that potential looks like. But at the same time, it's going to take time, and that time comes through repetition. It comes through experience and just hard work.
Part of his development, Chad, is going to hinge obviously on Todd Bowles and everything that happens with this coaching staff. Coming off 2 straight 5-11 seasons, how much do you trust Todd Bowles to be able to develop Sam Darnold the right way?
Well, I trust Todd Bowles tremendously, and the reason I do is because he's a player. He's been there before. He understands that. He's experienced it himself. And I think he has just a great approach to that, and he does a great job of protecting his quarterbacks. He's just not going to throw a quarterback under the bus just because. Even when I was reading articles about Sam's interception, you'd have thought that was the interception that ended football last night. But just listening to Todd talk about that interception and putting some of it on the coaching staff and talking about the situation, he's very realistic, but he's also very honest and truthful. And I think that's important, too. I think players look forward to that as far as you want to coach, whether you agree or disagree with him, as long as he's honest and truthful with you, you can deal with that and know where you stand. And I think Todd's always been that way, and that's important for their team.
Talking to former Jets quarterback Chad Pennington on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Chad, by the way, the last quarterback not named Tom Brady to quarterback an AFC East team to an AFC East title. So
nice.
An impressive resume point there. And as we look at building the resumes of these other young players, what have you made of the other rookie quarterbacks coming in this year to the draft alongside Sam Darnold?
Well, you can see that it's a very talented class, and I think that's why a lot of the evaluators were fired up about this class coming in pre-draft and pre-combine. There's a lot of potential there, and so we're a league that I think historically probably hasn't done a great job in developing quarterbacks. We move through them too fast, especially when you look at the arm talent that's out there. We can do a much better job of developing these quarterbacks and being more patient with them. But this class certainly has that potential to produce some really good professional quarterbacks. And both from a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint, they're just very versatile. And I also think they're unique. I think each one of them brings a little bit something different to the table that the other one does not, which provides for great conversations, also great quarterback play. And the best thing about playing the position of quarterback is it takes all shapes and sizes and talents. It's not just one cookie cutter approach, and it's really about the man under center more than it is just about his true talent. It's about what he's made of and how he's able to lead men. And so I think that's why a lot of people are really excited about this class.
Chad, we appreciate your time. Former Jets quarterback Chad Pennington, thanks for joining us, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
It's an interesting situation to be in, Mike, when you're talking about patience, right? Because you've got a bunch of people that are anxious. The fans are anxious. The coaching staff has to, at some level, be anxious because so much of their job performance review will be based on how they coach up Sam Darnold. And then you've also got Sam Darnold, who, while we expect some level of patience because he knows he was the 3rd overall pick, you still want to get on the field. That's asking a lot of people that are all sort of chomping at the bit, waiting for the opportunity to get in, to all take a step back and be patient. That's difficult.
And I think those are the surrounding things that always get lost in these, as we always look and want a cookie-cutter way to go about bringing young quarterbacks in the league. People always say, well, do you start them right away? Do you give them a year to sit? You have to acknowledge that every situation is so different because of that angle. I played with coach. Played for a lot of different kind of coaches, and you play for coaches that are at times coaching scared, coaching because they know their jobs are on the line, and you coach different. You coach not to lose. You don't coach the things day to day that necessarily mean something to you. You coach you what you know is going to get you showing up the next day, the next year, still having a job. And so when you get to the NFL and you see a lot of these coaches that are on portions of their contracts and portions of their coaching life where success hasn't necessarily been there, they approach these rookie quarterback situations a lot different. And it's human nature because you want to keep your job. And unless you're Todd Bowles and you've gotten some semblance of assurance that your job is going to be safe and you're going to be allowed to develop this young talent, this person becomes, like everything else in sports and life, a leverage tool to some extent. And whether that's overt or not, it's human nature to want to preserve your job and your well-being.
Well, as much as we continue to talk about Sam Darnold, at least one caller, remember you guys can hang out with us, 860-506-5505, 860-506-5505. At least one caller was not impressed with Darnold last night.
Hey, Golic Jr. Matt from New Jersey. Sam Darnold looked horrendous last night. He still is acting like the cotton bull self against Ohio State. He does not know how to escape the pocket, and that interception was not good in the end zone. Teddy Bridgewater looks like the best quarterback on the roster they have. Still need to figure out a QB situation.
Oh, yeah, that's just strong. Strong words.
Dreadful, huh?
I mean, most people are coming in saying, hey, look, I don't think you got to have two separate conversations right now, guys. One is how does Teddy Bridgewater look and how does Sam Darnold look? They're two completely separate conversations. So the development of Sam Darnold will have nothing to do with how Teddy Bridgewater looks right now. So as much as it's easy to come in and try and compare the two, I think they have to live in two completely different bubbles.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. Jason Fitz and Mike Golic Jr. in for Trey and Mike. Guys, don't forget baseball season's rolling along. Tune in tomorrow night. Reese Hopkins and the Phillies host the Mets, presented by Barbasol Razors. Coverage begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, and the ESPNradio.com and the ESPN app. By the way, Mike, I haven't given up this dream of being tackled. I think I'm going to make a laundry list of guys on campus that I would like to tackle me.
Yeah, you're really barking up the wrong tree. You're the only person.
Barking is the key word here.
You hear guys talking about seeking contact all the time. We hear that as a breakdown of players. This guy, seeks contact. He's not afraid of a big hit, all that stuff. You don't need to be seeking contact. You're not built to seek contact.
Could I tackle you? If you would you let me tackle you?
I mean, you could try.
I'm so going into training for this. Darren Woodson, never mind. I'm changing everything. I want you to train me. And that's going to be spectacular. By the way, Golic and Wingo presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Surprise a friend or loved one today or somebody that tackles you with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. And Mike, you can send me flowers after I tackle you.
I'm going to send you flowers after you try and tackle me. We're going to have to work with you on some tackling form. We're going to have to work with you on some things just to make sure. Because like we heard in the presentation yesterday, we were fortunate the NFL came and did the presentation for us that they have done for teams about the new tackling rule, all of the intricacies of that. And what's the one message they're trying to drive home is this applies to the tackler as well. This is done for the safety of the tackler. They want guys to be in better hitting positions so that they're not injured, so that we don't have anything come from that. We need to make sure you're in those same good positions.
That is a fair point. I will probably, I worry more about hurting myself than hurting you on that first hit. But once I get it, man, it's like I'm gonna be able to see you. I'm gonna have the proper alignment. I saw a video on it, which means I can do it. And I'm just incredibly good at Madden, which means I'm gonna have a gift for angles. I'm just gonna be able to take that and go right to you.
Oh God, I really need you to stop. This is just getting sad at this point.
Oh man, what? Okay, but admit it. You used to play Guitar Hero and think that could make you a musician, right?
No, because I'm not an idiot, Jason. I mean, all right, maybe for like a second. They came out with that Guitar Hero 2 that had the actual strings that was going to teach you how to play. I figured that was going to be my ticket.
Yeah, I've seen you. I've seen what you're like at concerts. You're ready.
I'm great.
You're ready.
Star power.
I don't know about that. Golic and Wingo, Jason Fitz, Mike Golic Jr. in for Trey. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and we got a little bit of hot route going. Got a little audible going. We'll get to some over-under later. But now we are going to go to the Shell Penzo Performance Line, where Nashville's own Brandt Snedeker joins us on the heels of a spectacular day. Brandt, thanks for some time, man. We appreciate you coming on with us. You shot a 59 yesterday. When you're in the groove like that, is there a moment where you just sort of realize in the middle of it that you are crushing life?
There was a moment yesterday when I had on the 8th I was at the birdie, one of my last two holes to shoot 59, that kind of hit me for a minute what was going on, and realized that I need to do something, especially these last two holes, to get it done, because I probably will never have this opportunity again in my life. So I need to really enjoy the moment, go out there and try to succeed.
So that's interesting. So when it's out there and it's you and your caddy, because people always think in golf, when you've got someone that's on the cusp of doing something like a perfect game or a no-hitter, everyone will kind of ignore that moment. Is this something you guys are actively talking about then on the course?
Yeah. I had a chance earlier in my career to do it, and I kind of did the no-hitter route. Didn't want to talk to anybody about it, didn't want to look at it, think about it, and I didn't do it. And yesterday it was just too obvious. I was 10 under par, needed to make one birdie with 2 holes to go, and everybody's getting kind of quiet. So I started talking about it, just saying, guys, I'm going to try to do this. This is so cool. It's so much fun today. I got a birdie on these last 2 holes, and kept telling myself I could hit the last 2 fairways. I'd have 2 wedges in my hand. I think I could get it done. Ended up doing that, birdieing the last hole to get it done. So it's a really cool moment, a lot of fun. But today's back to reality, back to the golf tournament. Got to figure out a way to win this golf tournament now.
I mean, that Brent raises a great question, because I realize every day is a new day. But is there anything you can try to do to maintain a little of the momentum from yesterday?
It's the hardest thing in golf is to play around after you've done something like that you did yesterday. But the next round's always, for whatever reason, I don't know why. It's just really, really tough to come out and shoot another low one. Hopefully I can keep the momentum going and ride it for as long as it'll let me ride it. But today's a completely different day, completely new round. I'm going to try to block out yesterday as much as possible and get back into the thing, because it's a long week. When we had 3 more rounds of golf, a lot can happen. So as great as yesterday was, I enjoyed it last night. I had a lot of fun talking about it and sitting around. Today's a new day, and I'm here trying to win the golf tournament.
Talking to Brandt Snedeker, shot a 59 yesterday in the first round of the Wyndham Championship. And Brandt, I'm interested because so much of us focus on this from the outside, but looking at you now, you were paired with Tiger a couple of times this year. We see the draw that he brings to a tournament. We see the environment he creates. How much different is it when you get to a tournament now and you get to sort of take a breath when you're out in a different environment like this? What do you take from those experiences that help you maybe get over some mental hurdles like this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, last week at the PGA, the crowds were unbelievable. And it's probably as biggest crowds I've seen since the Ryder Cup. Just seeing the juice in the crowd with Tiger's there and the way he was playing last week was so cool. It's so great for us on tour to have that kind of energy and life back in the tour again. And you have to embrace that and enjoy it. The crowds are crazy. They're going nuts for Tiger. When you're in the atmosphere with them, you got to have fun with it, enjoy the moment, and realize how special it is to be playing against them and with them. And so, a week like this, you kind of miss that energy a little bit. Not quite as crazy as it was last week, but still a lot of fun out here, and still having a great time doing what I do for a living. But it's great having Tiger back playing the way he's playing, and kind of drawing that interest level back that brings the casual fan into golf, which is what we need.
Brandt, it's really interesting to me that you're talking about the energy and how it's different with each one. How does it affect you, just the different environment and atmosphere around it, when you're trying to just focus on you?
Yeah, it's tougher. Definitely playing with Tiger, you have to have a different attitude. You've got to kind of embrace the craziness, because it's people will be screaming at you all day long, and it's taxing. It really is mentally and physically taxing on you. So you've got to embrace that challenge and enjoy it. a week like this where it's not quite as crazy, you're more kind of focused in on what you need to do specifically to play well, have a good time with your caddy out there, try to keep you loose, and wait till Sunday until the pressure really starts amping up on Sunday afternoon. So totally different mindset. You just have to get your mind around it and kind of zone in on what you need to do to play well.
Brent, congratulations on a fantastic round yesterday. Best of luck throughout the course of the weekend. Y'all check out Brent, not only a great golfer, but great person in the Nashville community, his charity at Our Kids TN for the Twitter handle on it. Brent, thanks for coming on with us, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. 50. Miss you in Nashville, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Killing it up there in Bristol.
I appreciate it, man. Brandt Snedeker joining us. Great. I mean, just a great human being. Does a lot of work in Nashville. I know y'all are looking at me stunned.
How much did you have to pay him to go ahead and act like he knew who you were?
I'm telling you, Brandt. You know, Brandt and I, we're tight. I got friends.
Tight. I mean, he saw you out in public once, and you hawked him down there outside of a grocery store. All right, everyone knows about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, don't be jealous. That's all. I got cool friends. I know.
You want to tackle him now too?
No, but I would take golf lessons from him. That's for sure.
You and me both. All right, I'll draft off you on that, and maybe I'll get you a Notre Dame sweatshirt. We'll call it even.
A sweatshirt. I want a helmet coming up. Yeah. And what we're going to try this again. Is Jalen Ramsey going to live up to his talk? And are we about to see a new record in baseball?
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm as happy as a clam.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will be, quote, as happy as a clam, unquote. The Geico legal team cannot accurately verify clams even experience the complex human emotional state known as happiness. As an invertebrate mollusk living half submerged on the ocean floor, with no arms, legs, or wireless access, what's there to be happy about? A clam's all like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today. Pronounced regionally as chowder. Chowder. Oh, that's so fun to say. What were we talking about again?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Jason Fitz and Mike Golic Jr. in for Trey and Mike. And you know what? I just saw as the TV broadcast flashes the pictures of each of the three of you across the screen. Mike, I have to say, your pictures for Golic and Wingo were really good. You were very photogenic.
I was in a good place in life then. I was fresh off my wedding diet for my brother's wedding. I was lean. I was mean. I was limber that day too. I was doing everything. I had it all.
Didn't ask for the limber part.
Don't care.
So we've been teasing it forever. We're finally going to get to it. It is time to get in to a little over-under.
Over-under. With Golic and Wingo.
Devin, you going to do some reading for us?
I am.
Woohoo!
Over under 4 interceptions for Jalen Ramsey this season.
Taking the over.
Oh, yeah. Give me the over on this one. Had 4 interceptions last season, and, this is only going to add fuel to his fire. Like, he's a guy I truly believe, and I have watched defensive backs will themselves to be better than they are. Guys with much more meager skills than Jalen Ramsey, just by their level of bleep talking, just by their own otherworldly confidence in themselves. I truly think that's how this guy gets down.
I think there's also a piece of it when you look at the division. The ball's going to go in the air more than we're used to. Look, the Titans have changed the head coach and they're going away from a run-first offense. They're going to give Mariota more opportunities, which means he's going to get more opportunities to make picks. Andrew Luck, obviously returning, is going to mean they'll throw the ball more there. When you look at their schedule, particularly, they have some opportunities. They play the Chiefs. Again, they're playing some pass-oriented offenses. They're going to have the opportunity to get some picks. I think he goes over.
Over under 3 touchdowns Dez Bryant catches this season.
Ooh, all right. So Bryant had 6 touchdowns last year. The Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Cleveland Browns overall last year managed to put up 15 touchdown passes last year. So different offense this year. Tyrod Taylor. That's assuming he ends up with the Browns too. Got Darren Woodson's in my head now because he mentioned the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to say over. I'm going to say Dez finds himself in a spot, nice role player, end zone guy, might be a little touchdown dependent, but find a way. Good jump ball player.
I'm going to say under. Look, if there were teams out there that really thought he could still legitimately be a 6-touchdown guy, if they believed that was sort of the opportunity that he could replicate last year's production, he'd already be on a roster somewhere. I don't know where he's going to end up. If he's going to end up somewhere, is he going to be able to find something that pays him what he wants when he gets there? What kind of shape's he going to be in? What kind of contributions he going to be able to give? These are all things we don't know. So if I'm going to have to put money one way or the other, I go under.
I don't need him to be a 6-touchdown guy. I just need him to be over 3.
That's fair.
Over under 115.5 wins for the Red Sox this season.
So 116, the major league record set by the 2001 Mariners. Do we think they get over that hump right now? What's the current record, Fitz?
86. Yeah, I'm looking it up now. They have 86 right now.
86 wins right now through 112 games.
Yeah, they're 86-36. I'm going to take the under. And I'm going to take the under because, frankly, as the season wears on and we find out that the Yankees aren't going to be in any sort of real competition for it, do we know they won't take the foot off the gas at the end of the year? It's hard for me to look at it and think that the record for wins is really important to them at this point. So I will take the under, not because they're not capable of it, but because, frankly, it won't be a motivator for them. They won't have to get it.
I'm going to take the under as well, just because, these all-time marks are difficult to hit, and I don't think this is a Red Sox team. As good as we thought they were going to be, it wasn't one that I expected, especially with the added production they got, bringing J.D. Martinez over. Mookie Betts improved a lot from last year to this year. That's been a big part of this, but I still think they fall a little short.
Nashvilleian Mookie Betts.
Oh, my God.
Speaking of Nashvilleian, over under 65, round 2 score for your guy, Brandt Snedeker, today at the Wyndham Championship.
Under because I'm a homer.
My God. Once he called you Fitzy, I stopped listening on this show. Snedeker, the 59 yesterday in the round, the 10th round of 59 or better in tour history. I'll take the under on this guy. You know what? Just because I liked his attitude talking to him. He understood. He's talked about appreciating the environment that's been created by Tiger Woods, talked about resetting today, overcame a bogey on the first hole to go on and shoot that great round, and leaned into it. He said, before, I had treated great rounds like that, like a no-hitter, like a perfect game where I didn't talk about it. He said, I got a chance to do something great. I'm going to lean into this one. I think he'll follow it up and go under 65.
Over under September 1st, when Dunkin' Donuts should be releasing pumpkin spice coffee.
All right, go with me here. All right, I'm going to go with the under. I'm going to go before, but here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that they should be able to do it in each city based on when kids go back to school. Because one thing I was talking to people, I was back in Nashville hanging out. I was talking to people, and one of the conversations was they're already long since back in school in the Nashville area, and everybody was saying, man, it feels like summer's over once the kids go back to school. It just feels like the end of the season. Up here, kids don't go back to school until September. So, like the first high school football games are Friday night, tonight, actually, in Nashville. So they already have sort of kicked themselves towards fall. So in that market, they should be pumpkin spiced. Once you have kids in school, you go back to pumpkin spice.
I'm going to take the over on this one because you want to talk about school being the mark for this. And I say, no. There's only one thing that marks the beginning of fall. It's college football season. Notre Dame, Michigan, September 1st, on a Saturday, that next day, the official beginning of college football season. And that's when the first sip of this majestic elixir will be tasted.
You want it the next day?
Yes.
You don't want to be able to go to the game with it?
Not going to the game drinking a pumpkin spice latte or any coffee, Fitz, not unless I can put a fistful of Baileys in it.
Wait. I'm not a man for the way that I drink my coffee, and you just went straight to Bailey's?
It's got booze in it. I'm cool.
But I don't know if you've ever been to the South, but they put Jack Daniels in coffee, too.
I put a lot of things in coffee.
I'm just saying, you went straight to Bailey's.
Hey, listen, in South Bend, there's plenty of Irish coffee around there. You come up, we'll show you how it gets down. You and the Nashville Board of Tourism could learn something.
I think that you should, though, rethink your stance on it and go one day earlier so that they've had it out for a day so that you can just go whenever you want. Like the day before, you're going to be in South Bend, you're celebrating the open of football season, you should have come to my side. Coming up, DiCaprio better watch out. The robots are coming for him. Plus, the drink that makes you fight, according to science. Next, Golic and Wingo.
Science! The Sport Clips Haircuts Head of the Class giveaway. Register for your chance to win a Razer laptop and more at sportclips.com/back-to-school and go straight to the head of the class with an MVP experience. So check in online today. No purchase necessary. 50 USDC age 18 plus. Ends 8/24/18.
It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Jason Fitz, Mike Golic Jr. in for Trey and Mike. Been a spectacular morning. By the way, if you've missed any of it, go check out the podcast because Darren Woodson gave us some solid gold earlier and thoughts on the quarterbacks.
We had great stuff from him. We had Chad Pennington on, who we found out was the last quarterback to win the NFC East, not named Tom Brady, AFC East. Not named Tom Brady, and Brandt Snedeker, who we found out apparently claims to know Jason in public, which is amazing.
We're besties. I don't know about besties. I'm sorry that you guys are just shocked because he's an amazing golfer, and because I'm not a golf guy, a golf person. I'm working on the guy thing, Mike, because I'm not a golf person.
Golf guy.
because I'm not golf guy, you guys think it's impossible that, I've got a wide network of friends, Mike.
I thought you were going to go with the classic line. You guys just like him because he's a great golfer, even better person. That's like the number one line when you don't actually have anything good to say about someone specifically. You just go, great such and such, way better person, though.
That's what I say about you all the time.
I know.
Let's get you caught up on some of what's trending. Speaking of you, Mike, this one right up your alley. Notre Dame unveiled their new alternate jerseys for the team's Shamrock Series game against Syracuse to be played at Yankee Stadium this season.
So, yeah, the jerseys are very Yankee-inspired. You've got some pinstripes on the shoulder caps. You've got pinstripe pants, which is going to be the big, I think the two biggest features of this are matte blue helmet. It's got a blue, white circle, pinstripes with the Notre Dame logo, no gold on the helmet whatsoever, and no gold on the pants. All pinstriped out pants. The only gold is really in the numbers, which the traditionalists I understand are going to be upset about. But man, take a look at the jersey on a mannequin and tell me that doesn't look hot. Like, tell me those guys going out to Yankee Stadium wearing pinstripes aren't going to have a memory that lasts a lifetime.
Can I ask just a real question here, though? Pinstripe pants on a fat guy? I'm not sure.
They're vertical stripes, though. Horizontal stripes are the ones you want to avoid as a fat. But when you've got vertical stripes, it's slimming.
As a fat.
And it's better than straight up white pants. They show, God forbid you pee yourself. That shows up too much. The sweat tends to go through. The pinstripes are at least going to obscure the view a little bit.
I'm just like, the pinstripe on some of these guys is not going to be very straight. That's all.
Not a lot of parallel lines.
Yeah, but the wide receivers are going to look, and running backs are going to look spectacular. And I love the pinstripe pants. The only portion of the uniform that I don't, for me personally, I'm not in love with are the shoulder caps being pinstripe. It's just a little bit of a disjointed look to me to the rest of it. But that helmet is amazing. I mean, that helmet is straight fire. As much as people laugh and joke about this, Oregon's been pretty upfront over the years about how much it matters as part of their sales pitch, like it or not, that they go to kids and say, hey, you'll never wear the same jersey twice here. And obviously that's not what Notre Dame is doing. But these sort of landmark secondary alternate jerseys are something they get a fan base hyped up, and it's something that kids are excited to get to play in.
And more importantly, you can make a ton of money selling merch. How about you, Irish?
Is there any particular kind of merch you prefer on this?
How about you? I'll get them my sizes and preferences off air.
Large, right?
XL at this point.
No, I meant for me. Staggering news, because you guys know that I'm pro-robot. As the advancement of technology continues to replace the need for human labor, American History ex-director Tony Kaye is undertaking a new and controversial step in filmmaking by employing an artificial intelligent actor as the lead in his next film, Second Born.
Robot actors.
Robot star.
Robot actors. What a world we're living in. We're going to do this to our children where they're going to look on screen and they're not going to have any idea. They're not going to have any clue. I mean, what's to stop them from replacing us then? That's what I'm really concerned about.
Does he still have to pay union dues? That's the real key.
They better.
I mean, SAG fees?
I'm not going to pay union dues so some robot can get up there and just screw up the acting process.
But then does he get like a cut of the pension? Like, how's that work? How's health insurance work for the robot? I mean,
parts cost money, man.
Look, I'm all in on the robot takeover. You guys know that. Like, I'm a champion of the robot takeover, but this is a little weird. I want the robot takeover to be very transparent, though, so I will appreciate the fact. See, what would have been shocking is if Tony Kaye would have just done this and then afterwards been like, oh, by the way, BT Dubs, robot, right? Like, that would have been shocking.
Like, we're all in the crowd crying, like this moving performance, we're broken tears, and then he gets up at the award show and pulls off the mask and it's a Terminator face.
Tony Kaye has robbed us from that great American historical moment. That could have been something special.
It could have been something special. It's gonna be a hell of a reveal though when at that award show, and I can't get this image out of my head now. Devin said this to me during the break. You get up in an award show and the robot's gonna be there. He's gonna be in the middle of its thank you speech and say, "Well, my fellow robots, please stand and join me." And it's gonna be like Meryl Streep standing up and Tom Hanks, and they've all been robots this whole time.
By the way, I love the fact that we just immediately jump to a robot not only gets cast in the movie, but outacts all of the human beings in showing emotion, and suddenly...
Well, I don't think Daniel Day-Lewis is in a movie this year, so he's got a shot.
Oh, wow. I'm still here for it. One thing the robot doesn't have to worry about, but we do. Mixing vodka and Red Bull is a popular concoction for those trying to stay alert while drinking, or those that just like tasty Red Bull. However, a new study published in the Journal of Psychiatric Research suggests the potent mix compounds the effects of heavy drinking and increases the, quote, risk of fighting, violence, and participation in risky behaviors.
Yeah, I could have told you that one. I got a lot of field research in the world of Red Bull vodka. That was the one way I knew, by the way, when I left Notre Dame. I'd come back, a couple years and been going to some ball games, and I would go into familiar watering holes. And one day I walked in, this is 2 years after I left, and the bartender who worked there when I was there just handed me a pitcher of Red Bull vodka, and I was like, we need some space.
That is
I need
incredible.
to not be in this environment anymore with this drink, because it's poison that turns you into a violent monster.
It's
great, though.
Delightful, tasty treat. I love me some sugar-free Red Bull. By the way, this is a great line. Red Bull vodka turns people into belligerent pros. See, alliterative, belligerent pros. I will say this. Anybody in the South will say, like, Jack Daniels hears this report and is just like, hold my beer. Like, Jack Daniels is like, wait. You think that makes for aggressive drunks? Okay.
Yeah, it's all right. Tequila's over in the corner making out with both your girlfriends.
Meanwhile, vodka soda's sitting there saying, guys, we're fun. We're just sensible.
Vodka soda's just giving you like a little fist pump in the corner when clarity comes on. It's like, I like Zed.
Yeah. Tito's and soda just head bobbing in the corner of the
Tito's
club.
and soda is the cool guy at the bar. He's just over there. He's your friend you can count on. He's going to take your keys from you if you've had too many. Like, we need to get you home safe, man. I care about you.
He's going to have that one drink for like 7 hours while you're screaming shots and running around the bar. That's Tito's soda. That's it.
Exactly. Meanwhile, God, what am I missing right now? I was gonna say Jaeger's over in the corner, covered in glow sticks, ready to punch someone in the face. Love me some Jaeger.
And everybody turns around and says, "Who invited Jaeger?" That's what happened.
Not again. Get Goldschlager and tell him to get the hell out of here.
You've actually sort of summarizing my night last night. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. Jason Fitz and Mike Golic Jr. in for Trey and Mike. And I went to a bar last night, and I'm not afraid to admit it, Mike. I enjoy watching my football in a bar, especially when there's multiple games going on at once for the preseason, and it's sometimes a little harder to watch all that. And so I went to J. Timothy's, as always, and I sat down at the bar and I watched me some preseason football, and I think that means I have a problem. But I sat there and drank my Tito's and soda with a lime while I watched two different games going on. And the funny thing is that at the beginning, those two games had no relationship. Now we don't know. And I say that because Sam Darnold went out, played the first half for the Jets. Teddy Bridgewater then came in and played the second half. By most accounts, looked very good. At the same time, we were watching the Eagles and the Patriots play in a game where Nick Foles went out in the first half with a shoulder strain. We have no idea what the full extent of it is, but it has raised at least a conversation about what could be a problem. And I say could. I have to say that so loudly here because we don't know yet any sort of prognosis on Nick Foles.
And we're hoping to find out today. They're hoping to get some news today about the shoulder strain involving Nick Foles after that Adrian Claiborne sack last night.
The best case scenario here is that it's something that, it's no big deal. Absolutely no big deal. The worst case scenario in my mind is that it's something that goes into some of the regular season, because now that puts the Eagles in a real pickle as they try and figure out what they're going to do with the quarterback situation should they need to. RG3 is a name that came up earlier, and Teddy Bridgewater is a name we've talked about a lot today. But it's a reminder that as you're watching preseason, all of these different games going on actually affect each other.
Well, yeah, they're all additions. For the guys that aren't cemented as starters, you're always reminded, and this is the one thing the coaches are very upfront about in camp, is listen, we would love to keep everybody, but it's a numbers game, and so you're auditioning. Everyone is getting the tape. All the 31 other teams that you're not in camp with are going to see this, and so it's a constant audition for everyone else in football, and that's why it's so important that Teddy Bridgewater goes out there, as we all talk about Sam Darnold, and plays really well last night. Like, even throws that were dropped looked great. He was throwing good balls, putting them on the money. He was evading pressure, doing it so much so that he's going to earn himself a job somewhere. RG3 kind of in that same category right now in Ravens camp. You understand the realities of the situation, but you know that playing well can still net you the result you want.
Well, and RG3 sort of is in a win-win situation over the next couple of weeks. No matter what the situation is for other teams, the more playing time he can get in the preseason, because let's face it, he's the odd man out in that quarterback rotation, right? At this point, either he or Flacco.
Just like Teddy.
And so you have to look at it and say the Ravens really have two options. One, they're looking at Joe Flacco long term, which is what everybody presumes at this point. Or two, they're looking at a situation where Lamar gets the starting job and RG3 becomes the backup. I think that's the most far-fetched situation. So at that point, RG3 is now, whatever playing time he gets, is really an audition in case of injury. I said it yesterday. I stand by it. There aren't a lot of open jobs right now in the NFL at quarterback, specifically for teams that are quarterback needy. There's just not a spot to be in. So if you're one of those guys, you're looking around saying, it's an injury that's going to give me opportunity.
It is, and There's going to be a bunch of situations that pop up. Philadelphia is one to keep an eye on, but you look at other quarterback situations around the NFL, and I know they punted on bringing anybody in because they're committed to this guy right now, but man, one of those guys backing up in Jacksonville should anything happen. You talk about a team that's championship ready at almost every other position. They've got confidence in Blake Bortles. We heard that from Jalen Ramsey the other day. But man, what a spot for one of those guys to land should anything go wrong, to give them someone that could still allow them the ceiling of being who they were last year, which is a championship caliber team, even without a championship caliber quarterback.
It's Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Jason Fitz, Mike Golic Jr. in for Trey and Mike. And another thing in watching the game last night, I think I realized is that there's so much conversation in the NFC East, particularly obviously around the Eagles because of what they accomplished last year. Because the Cowboys are the brand who the Cowboys are. We're always going to talk about them. And frankly, because of Saquon Barkley, the Giants are on everybody's mind. And I was watching last night saying, man, we are forgetting that the Redskins were a good football team last year. They were at least they were a contender last year for the playoffs. They add Alex Smith at this point, and that's a quarterback that they believe in, right? And then they also go out and they draft Daron Payne. And so you have to look at it and say, they got better, and we just don't seem to care about the Redskins.
You might not care. When we had this discussion, when it was you, me, and Mina Kimes filling in on the show, and we did the NFC East predictions for people that are going to finish last and first, I said the Eagles probably still win this division, but I would not be shocked if Washington ended up second place in this division. You've got on offense, if the health is going to be the key for this team, right? Because Jordan Reed, one of the better tight ends in the NFL when he's been healthy, but he's never played a full slate of 16 games. Their running back room took a little bit of a hit. No doubt about that, but they still got a group they're confident enough in. That offensive line was decimated by injury last year. Can get a lot better. And you mentioned Daron Payne. Well, guess who else was out on IR for a lot of last season? Another Alabama D-tackle and Jonathan Allen, who was a coveted draft pick from the year before. You had both of those guys back at once, and that defense that was darn near dead last in the NFL in yards per game on the ground as a rush defense instantly gets better overnight. It's going to be a darn good football team if they can just be healthier than they were last year, because it was abysmal.
I think the health concern with Jonathan Allen, let's remember that was part of why he slipped in the draft, was shoulder concern, right? So you look at Jonathan Allen and say the health concern is part of what just sort of follows him now as a player until we see him make it through a season. But I do find it interesting because when you talk about the Redskins, you look at the body of evidence over the last 2 years, not just last year, but the last 2 years. Their offense 2 years ago was third in the league in yards, third in the league, and they fell to 16th. They took a big dip. Offensive line was part of that. But you have to look at it and say, man, which version of this Redskins was the real version? Because Jay Gruden has a job because of his work with quarterbacks and because of his work with offenses particularly. I have to feel like Alex Smith is going to come in and be able to contribute for them. That's why they gave up. That's why they made the trade. That's why they let Kirk Cousins go, cost aside. I have to feel like there's some piece there. So I'm just wondering if we aren't looking at the entire narrative because there are sexier brands in the NFC East. It just doesn't seem like the Redskins are on as much of our minds. And this is a team that over the last 3 years, 9-7, 8-7-1, 7-9. So they're about a 500 football team every year. As good as the NFC East is, it's possible they all clump each other into that 9-7 range. And that means the Redskins have a chance.
Yeah, and a lot of people have pointed to the Giants and said, they're not as bad as that 3-13 record showed last year in a lot of close games. But the bottom line is, as far as the way we address it, it has to do certainly with sex appeal. We talked about it this morning. We're interested more so in this preseason because we've got 5 rookie quarterbacks that are all really enticing prospects that we get to pay attention to. Washington didn't bring in. Picking a defensive tackle in the first round isn't sexy. It's not going to draw a lot of eyeballs. Like picking a running back in the second overall pick the way the Giants did. Like picking a quarterback at the top of the draft. And so between that and Alex Smith, who is the poster for largely uninteresting, productive, a 14-year NFL veteran, a guy who's been a winner at all the stops he's been at, but not one that ever really draws that same level of outside attention.
Largely uninteresting sticks out to me so much because you think about Blake Bortles, who we talked about earlier, and I believe there's a brand bias in the NFL for a quarterback. So your entire franchise becomes the identity of whatever your quarterback is. So if the Jags had a quarterback not named Blake Bortles this year, I don't care who it is. If they had a quarterback not named Blake Bortles, they would be an even more hyped team going into the season because of how good they were and because where they finished. And the argument would be, man, they did that all with Blake Bortles, even though he wasn't as bad as people want to make him out to be.
He also wasn't that good, though. And that's the thing, is you can call it brand bias with Blake Bortles. He's just not a great quarterback. And so you look at the rest of that roster, and he's the one place where you say that's probably holding them back.
But we are looking at the team and defining it by the brand of Blake Bortles and not by the brand of the other 52.
So you're saying no one's giving the Jaguars any love this year. They're giving them love commensurate to how great the rest of that roster is, understanding that there's a lot of volatility at quarterback.
You don't think if they had signed Alex Smith, that they would be everybody's Super Bowl favorite?
Yes, because Alex Smith's a better quarterback than Blake Bortles.
But still, they can win a Super Bowl with Blake. I mean, if they can get into the AFC Championship and be up by 10 points in the fourth quarter, they can win a Super Bowl with Blake. It's just, we just don't like to accept that because we don't love Blake. And
I think plenty of people are picking the Jaguars. I think looking at Blake Bortles as a potential hang-up is more than okay.
But I think when you take that logic and put it over to the Redskins, I think what you have is a quarterback that's considered bleh, with the team that's gone in the range of 7-9 and 9-7 for 3 straight years. It's just boring. That's the piece of it. Like, nobody expects anything great because you look at it and it's a boring quarterback with a team that's sort of been mediocre. I just don't know that that's a fair assessment. I think that's unfortunately where we are with assessment of every team, is it starts and ends with whatever we think of the quarterback. Coming up, we got more football tonight, including a matchup of 2 rookie quarterbacks, both drafted in the top 10.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org number 3030. To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
It's Golic and Wingo. By the way, that era, though, of Lone Star was just spectacular.
Oh, lights out stuff.
Amazing. I listened to all. I don't care what anybody says. If you didn't listen to Lone Star that era, then there's something was wrong with you.
Everyone's tearing up a little bit in the studio right now.
No, that's tears of laughter for the little vibrato. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the show. Pennzoil Performance Line. Those sweet, sweet vocals came from the one and only Mike Golic Jr. I'm Jason Fitz. We're in for Trey and Mike. You know what? I hear it. First of all, spectacular job by the guys putting it together on the track so quickly. But you know what? I'm impressed, Mike. I think you've got a second career. I switched from music to sports. Maybe you're going to make the switch from sports to music.
All I want to be is a backup singer. Like, I don't need to try and make the full switch to the front of the stage at this point. Okay. Zach Brown Band's going to be in town around my birthday. I know a lot of Zach Brown Band songs. We look the same already. I can be a backup singer. If he gets tired, I can go out there and just take colder weather for a little bit. Everyone's usually pretty locked and loaded at that point of the concert anyway. It'll be good.
All right, I'm going to put in some work here, but don't tell Senior. I played with Zach Brown Band at the CMA Awards a few years ago. You and I had Clay Cook came on with us on the national championship game. We've got some friends there, so let's see what we can arrange. But here's the thing: I don't want Senior to take your thunder. Like, it's got to be your moment.
Oh no, yeah.
So we'll just let him know, like, day of. Hey, by the way, Dad, Junior's headlining the Zach Brown Band show.
It's going to be great.
All right, we'll
going to let him know that. The whole show staff will be there, decked out in Notre Dame Shamrock Series gear. It's going to be great.
Do I get a helmet for working all this out?
Probably not.
Okay, good talk. A lot of football tonight, Golic and Wingo. We're taking a look at some of the games that are happening tonight. And this is sort of where we are at this point because of the hype. And you said it earlier, the hope that comes with the young quarterback, right? The hope that comes with the young quarterback. And this year particularly because the draft class has been hyped for so long coming into this draft. And even though there were questions, so many questions about who preferred who in the first round of the draft. The fact is there were a lot of young names taken early on, and we get an example tonight of the hype and hope it creates because Buffalo takes on Cleveland in a preseason game that, let's face it, 99% of the time would be hot garbage. Like you'd rather do chores than watch that preseason game most of the time. But when I take that and I rephrase it as Josh Allen versus Baker Mayfield, now it's like, ooh. Well, we heard about them in the draft, so this is going to be good.
According to Jalen Ramsey, watching Josh Allen, you're technically taking out the trash. So,
well, and when we did the draft broadcast on Twitter, Mina Kimes, who is just one of the best minds we have at the network on the draft, watches as much tape and breaks down these guys as well as anybody. When the draft broadcast happened, she didn't love Josh Allen being picked as high as she did. But that doesn't mean, I think we've all sort of gone into this Josh Allen was picked so high and he's not going to be good. I don't know that is really true. If Josh Allen had been a late first round pick, we'd be viewing him through much different eyeballs, right?
Josh Allen is a project, right? We understand otherworldly physical ability, otherworldly arm talent, but we saw it on display in their first preseason game. That video, that image, that play of him falling to the ground on a 4th down conversion in the third quarter and just lobbing a ball up for grabs is kind of indicative of where he's at in the development process. This is a guy that struggled with decision making, struggled with the completion percentage numbers, especially against the FBS opponents that they would play in college, the big time D1 opponents that these guys would go up against. And so that was a question for people going in, and he's done nothing to really, quell any response there.
Well, and what can he do at this point? I mean, today, I don't know that much can change on the narrative of Josh Allen because it's going to take time for him to be very good. The question is, how can you be patient? When we talked to Chad Pennington earlier today, one of the things he was preaching continually is that Todd Bowles and the Jets both have to be incredibly patient when they think about the development of Sam Darnold. And what's funny is we're talking about patience and development of Sam Darnold. We're talking about patience and development of Baker Mayfield. Both of those guys in their situations have quarterbacks that could come in and start today. There is at least a presumption that whether that Bridgewater, for example, could start for the Jets, and there's a presumption that Tyrod's going to start in Cleveland. So we're allowing patience for the 1st and 3rd overall pick. Are we going to allow that patience for the 6th overall pick, or do we already have our mind made up?
Well, I mean, we're going to allow patience, but you also have to look at the places they're going to be allowed to grow. And the Buffalo Bills just don't have a lot of talent. I mean, outside of Kelvin Benjamin, you're not really talking about a bunch of weapons. They were stripping down parts constantly around Tyrod Taylor when he was on that team. I mean, Charles Clay was his number one option at tight end for a while. So I don't think people look at this group. They're replacing a lot up in front of him on the offensive line. It's going to be interesting. And Brian Dable came over from Alabama. He's their offensive coordinator. So he's a guy that's used to developing quarterbacks. What's he going to be able to do? And how are they going to put him in position to succeed? We saw last night when we were watching the game last night, and we're taking a look at the young quarterbacks, and we're looking at Sam Darnold, and we're saying the game plan for him looked like it mimicked a lot of what we saw from Carson Wentz's rookie season, which is hand the ball off under center, but if not, get him in gun, spread it out, make the looks quick and read for him, and go from there. Can you simplify it to give these guys a chance to grow into better quarterbacks?
Which raises the debate of the best way to develop. When you've got a guy like Josh Allen, do you just integrate the portions of the offense you think that he can execute well in the beginning to give him a little confidence and try and develop him during the course of the season? Or do you essentially just count the season as it's going to be whatever it is? It is what it is. The season's a loss. You sit him and you give him as much practice time as he could possibly get. You give him as much coaching time as you can possibly get. The hard part about it is because of the lack of talent around him in Buffalo and because of the way the Bills look, we don't feel like there isn't another option there that we're just looking at saying, okay, this is great. I mean, are really any of us excited about Peterman?
Well, A.J. McCarron is there. He was a guy who was thought to be a coveted free agent piece a couple of years ago when he started that playoff game for the Bengals. A lot of people were clamoring for a short time for him to maybe get some time over Andy Dalton. So there's a couple of names involved in that can buy you time if that's what you want, but it's how much do you value the live reps as a part of his development. And that's the decision that the people handling him every day have to make.
Well, the question is, why do we view that decision so differently in different cities, right? I mean, because the Jets have a lot of talent, right? So you want to put him in the game, and we're all anxious to get Darnold in and playing somehow, some way. We're all anxious for Baker to come in and win the job, even though Hugh Jackson continually tells us that Tyrod's going to be the starter. Shouldn't there be some piece of us for the Bills, particularly because they don't have as much talent around, that's anxious for Josh Allen not to get in the game? I mean, that just feels like, it feels wrong to say, but that feels like the right approach for the quarterback of 3 years from now.
we assess each situation individually based on what we've seen. And from the limited things that we have seen and heard, we have seen Josh Allen not look as in control as Sam Darnold, as Baker Mayfield. Josh Rosen's going to be an interesting one to watch tonight. Going on the road, going to be playing at New Orleans against the Saints. He was a guy that didn't look great in his first outing of the preseason. We've heard some frustration in camp from him. He's another guy that we watch because he's the complete opposite end of what we've seen with Josh Allen, the most polished guy coming out of the college ranks, a pocket passer, guy who got beat up a lot at UCLA, went through a bunch of different coordinator changes, but smart, cerebral, a lot different prospect than Josh Allen.
Yeah, and he has the benefit of David Johnson with him, which is a huge benefit to have going into your rookie year. At least you got a stud around you that can pick up a lot of the slack.
Larry Fitzgerald in the slot, too, is not going to hurt your cause there either.
All things, again, Josh Allen doesn't have. So we have this narrative on Josh Allen, and he also has probably the toughest, the hardest road ahead of him of changing what that narrative looks like. Coming up, Golic and Wingo, by the way, reminding you, tune in this Sunday as the Phillies host the Mets, presented by Indeed. Coverage of Sunday Night Baseball begins at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app, and at 7 p.m. on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. Next up, there won't be a mercy rule in Williamsport on Sunday night. The big leaders will invade the home of the Little League, and we'll talk to someone who will be in the middle of the action.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm as happy as a clam.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will be, quote, as happy as a clam, unquote. The Geico legal team cannot accurately verify clams even experience the complex human emotional state known as happiness. As an invertebrate mollusk living half submerged on the ocean floor with no arms, legs, or wireless access, what's there to be happy about? A clam's all like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today. Pronounced regionally as chowder. Chowder. Oh, that's so fun to say. What were we talking about again?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
For anyone that's watching on ESPN News right now, Trey Wingo's microphone just in the middle of Dad's tape decided to explode into his hands.
Just kind of broke apart. Well, hey, you guys say things for a minute.
Kudos to our producer, Dan Stanzik, coming in here and getting it done NASCAR pit stop
He's
style.
done great work.
The Sports Center brought to you by Valspar Stain. Just a reminder of doing your decks on your to-do list this summer. Put new Valspar Stain on your shopping list. That way you can get all-weather protection and more inspiring color. Valspar Exterior Stain, only at Lowe's.
It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. I'm Jason Fitz. He's Mike Golic Jr. We're in for Trey and Mike. Now I'm openly shilling for free Oakland Raiders
it's
stuff.
It's sad.
Well, I mean, I'm going to go through combine drills. I need proper gear. I want to represent my favorite team that way.
We need to get good cleats, good footwear for you.
I was thinking more helmet.
Helmet,
and I already have.
You don't need a helmet for the combine.
I already have a jersey the team gave me. Don't ruin this for me. All right, I helped you with your Notre Dame stuff.
He doesn't need it.
I don't know how we work together. Let's just get away from this quickly. Jessica Mendoza, ESPN Major League Baseball analyst, is in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where the Mets and Phillies are going to be playing on Sunday. Coverage at 6 p.m. Eastern. Jessica, thanks for some time. Thanks for hanging out with us. Talk a little bit. We'll get to some of the hot stories in baseball right now, but this is a really cool, special moment for major leaguers to be playing in a Little League stadium. Talk a little bit about what the environment's like there.
Guys, I mean, even last year with the Cardinals and Pirates coming to town, and what's cool about it is I think the expectation, of course, is like the big leaguer is going to come here and you see all the Little Leagues, the kids like gravitate and get so excited to have their own players that they look up to be right here in the same city. But what surprised me the most was when the big leaguers get here. I mean, they've been watching Little League started yesterday, and they've been watching the games. They get here and they know guys, they've been watching these kids. And so they come in, they want their autographs. They want to take selfies with the kids. And to see just like baseball, obviously at its purest form here with the Little League kids, but to also see the big leaguers become kids, like that's probably my favorite part.
It is going to be really cool. And for you guys, you know, as you're in production meetings and you're talking to players getting ready for this game, I have to imagine you get a lot of stories from these guys when they were all Little Leaguers at some point. I'm sure some that might have even played in this venue.
Well, Todd Frazier is going to be here, and he won the Little League World Series 20 years ago for Toms River, New Jersey. And so those highlights have been reeling in. Michael Conforto with the Mets as well, his picture getting shown, you know, all over there. Scott Kingery, the Phillies. What's cool with Frazier is that team from 20 years ago that won that Little League is all coming back here this weekend. Obviously, Todd's coming back with the Mets as well. So they're all going to be here Sunday. Todd's throwing out the first pitch of the Little League games. It's that, to me, when you see the footage of little Todd, which, by the way, I mean, he looks exactly the same. I mean, he's just a big kid now anyway. But to see him hit one of the biggest home runs, close out that game to win the World Series, I think they beat Japan, actually, that year. It's pretty cool.
We're talking to Jessica Mendoza, ESPN Major League Baseball analyst. Remember, Mets, Phillies, and Williamsport on Sunday. Coverage at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. You just mentioned Scott with the Phillies, played in the Little League World Series. He's an infielder, but he was pitching yesterday in a 24-4 rout. We've been talking about the history made in that moment. Can you sort of wrap any sort of logic to how that happens for a team?
Well, the day before the Phillies, I mean, they basically talked about, because they were playing the Red Sox, and how they had to win that game, every game, obviously, to try to win the division. But they completely emptied the entire bullpen in that game, knowing they had a doubleheader the next day. And even though they made it brought in a couple guys, you could kind of feel, okay, this is going to get messy. And as soon as they started scoring runs, and a lot of runs early, I just felt like the Phillies threw in the towel. But to see that many runs scored, it was 31 years to the day, by the way, to break that record. It was 23 runs 31 years ago that same record was set. So to have kind of one of those weird baseball things at 31 years, something about whatever the heck the date was yesterday, then I feel like the Mets or the Phillies should just not, or the Mets that should be a big day for them.
Yeah, the Mets always finding their way into situations like this. We had a bit of a situation the other day. Obviously, Jose Urena suspended 6 games for intentionally hitting Ronald Acuna Jr. 2 nights ago. What do you make of the punishment for this and just the event as a whole?
You know, it's something that's so tricky right now because we're seeing so much of, you know, obviously guys, and you think about Acuna getting hurt possibly, which he didn't. He ended up coming into play obviously the next day, but it's just the entire, you know, attention that's around it. Is there going to be something about these unwritten rules in baseball? I mean, I'm torn, to be honest, because there's a part of me that loves the idea of just like what baseball has been and those kind of things that happen. But at the same time, in this scenario, like with Acuna hitting leadoff home runs and just prevent it and pop him right there in the elbow, you know, you hate to see it. So to me, it's one of those things. It's a huge hot topic, incredibly debatable, and you're going to wonder if at some point baseball is ever going to make some changes to make more serious punishment for stuff like this.
Jessica, that's one of the interesting things because, you know, Mike and I sat through yesterday an NFL panel on some of the changes happening for the league, and it feels like some sports or the NFL, the NBA even, are consistently proactive in trying to change some of the things that maybe it affects older fans that like the way it used to be, but they're always trying to think ahead. Does baseball need to do that more in your mind?
I think baseball needs to honestly think about a lot of changes. I don't know if this wouldn't be at the top of my list. I just feel like, to your point, within the NBA, the NFL, there's so much adaptation to the times, to just being able to, like, to me, when I get around these kids, and honestly, the purity that you see here at Little League and the pace. I mean, we had a game yesterday between Texas and Rhode Island, and literally, I mean, these kids are just like, go, 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 like just pitch, action. I mean, it is the best of what baseball, I feel like, can be. And yeah, they're young. There's no on-base percentage. They're trying to focus on, take a few pitches. You know, guys that are on the mound, or the kids that are on the mound, all they want to do is get the ball and just throw it right over the plate. What I see, though, in baseball now is just the ability for changes to happen within that pace of play. And I know it's been such a hard topic, but I feel like changes have to happen.
Talking to Jessica Mendoza, 4-time first-team All-American at Stanford and our ESPN Major League Baseball analyst. And sticking with that, Jessica, when you talk about what's coming next, we talked with the commissioner, Rob Manfred, around the All-Star break about marketing the players in the league and trying to create more stars. But when I look at the Ronald Acuna Juniors, when I look at some of the other prospects coming up right now, Juan Soto in Washington, do you think that there's enough guys coming up that just have more of this personality that take some of that childlike element of the game with them that might just help on their own?
I would think so, but like what happens then like 5 years from now? Like I feel like they come in and yeah, they've got the emotion, the personality, but then there's something that I feel like is almost a part of the veteran part of the game where it's like, you know what, you want to try to be vanilla. You want to kind of just, the idea of a great baseball player is the guy that goes out there and just plays the game, goes home, doesn't say anything, and that's how they go about their business. That humility, that just total, what you would call maybe respect for the game. And to me, I love that guy too. I just want these kids to be grow up to be the guys who they are and show that emotion. If they've got it, if they got passion. I mean, shoot, you could look at Max Scherzer, who we had last weekend on Sunday Night Baseball. I mean, he fist pumps and screams. He'll stare down a batter. Shoot, he'll throw at a batter. That's him. That's what makes him right now probably the best pitcher in baseball today. And he's going to show you, and he's going to tell you, and he's going to give it to you. And I think that's important. And then you're going to get the guy who's humble and isn't going to say anything. Is just going to take the ball and do what he does. And I think that's okay too. My point is it's relatability. And if you're going to have, I got 2 boys at home, when they watch baseball, I want them to see themselves in somebody. And unless we get diversity, and always, whether it's attitude, whether it's the emotion, whether it's really just for what I believe is for kids to be able to see themselves. And I think that's important. I think the game needs it. And you're right. These young kids that are coming up that are dynamic players, I hope they just stay true to who they are.
You guys can check out Mets Phillies. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday on ESPN Radio, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Jessica, we appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Jessica Mendoza, ESPN Major League Baseball analyst. Mike, I think what really stood out at the end was when she talked about relatability, like see yourself. And I think that is such a huge part. It doesn't matter whether it's in movies. It doesn't matter whether it's in entertainment or it's in sports. Like you find identifiability from somebody that's real. And that's what any league needs, is real guys to step up and be themselves. And if it happens to be in a way that engages people, that's a win for everybody.
Yeah, you want everyone to show you that it's possible, to be who you are, and that would be accepted in any particular venue or stage. And so it's a great point by her. And one, because I'm glad she said it, it's one that Major League Baseball at this point kind of grinds out of guys right now, right? The process of what's expected at the Major League level by these veterans, by locker rooms, sort of squeezes that out, and there's got to be a way to find balance and preserve that while still obviously respecting elements of the game that deserve it.
Yeah, letting players find their personality was a big part of what changed the NBA 15 years ago, allowing players to sort of come out and be themselves. And it's changed the NBA in ways I don't think anyone could ever imagine. It's easier said than done, though. It's easier said than done to turn around and try and figure that piece out. What I know is I found my personality hanging out with you for the last couple of days, buddy. I appreciate it, and I really appreciate you getting me that Notre Dame helmet. That was really nice of you.
The Notre Dame bookstore has been in touch with me, guys. We're in good hands. The show staff can get excited.
Okay, but what